so today I'm going to be working on my own house again. I know I do a lot of stuff in my own house, but my house is only 2 years old and I have a lot of kids, as many of you know. And we installed an energy recovery ventilator, and we also have some really good Carrier and Mitsubishi equipment in the house. But I'm still having a hard time getting my relative humidity where I want it to be. A lot of times it creeps up to 58%. I'd like to keep it 55%, between 50 and 55% relative humidity in the home. And what I've actually done on my Infinity system is I've set it up to run the electric heat to dehumidify, which is kind of an extreme thing to do. It costs a lot more power than using a separate supplementary dehumidifier. So I'm going to be installing a supplementary dehumidifier. First thing I'm going to do is actually walk the house with Jonathan Jones. He's an expert in the humidity space, works with Ultra Air, and then also Clean Comfort, which is the particular brand I'm going to be using at my house today. We're going to walk through and just kind of talk about some of the different applications and come up with a solution. All right, so we just arrived here at my place. We're going to do a little bit of testing today, but we're also going to look at the attic. I've got an encapsulated attic, and I've got with me today Jonathan. Jonathan's with Thermistore. Say hi, Jonathan. You're supposed to say hi, Jonathan. Hi, Jonathan. And then I've got Max and Les, and then Sal, Hamidi. All right, guys, you can follow me in here. My wife loves it when I walk into the house already recording, you know. Hey, kids. So these are my kids. I don't show them much on video. I like how you're peeking around the corner. So you'll see you like my structured media panel here? I've done really nice things with it here. This looks pretty good. Pretty proud of it. All right, it's my equipment. 4-ton Carrier and my Mitsubishi MVZ. We get here. So this is my homemade supply duct hole here. I'm really being transparent here. Okay, folks. I don't want to hear it. It's my own house. I can do what I want. This is America.
So what you want to do is free draw from upstairs and have the return pull, and then go into dump into both of these supply plenums here. Distribute it evenly depending on how your area is.
Right.
So you want to do about 2/3 on the 4-ton, then 2 tons. The 2-ton system, get the remaining. Hang it up upstairs. That way you don't get the resonation from the compressor.
Right.
And you should be good isolating like that. But the free pull return will hit the highest humidity point being the attic right now.
Right.
It'll pull it out and still distribute throughout the entire house.
Got it. And so so in this case we're probably just going to use like a traditional strut and all thread, but you make a special kit.
Right. Yeah, you can use the strut and all thread if it's readily available, of course. We do have a hanging kit with pulley systems on each corner. That way one person can do it by themselves.
Right.
So if they're in a low leverage point, or if it's just one person by themselves, they can go around and they adjust the pulleys as needed to get the fall to the drain and set it and forget it. So
yeah, it's still because drilling trusses is always sort of a gray area. I'm smiling right now, but and so does your pulley system, does that require any drilling, or?
Yeah, you still have eye hooks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're still gonna have the eye hooks.
Okay. All right, yeah.
But again, it's nylon straps versus having rigidness going throughout the entire hanging system. So it will deaden the noise and the vibration, the resonation throughout it.
Yeah. The thing to do with trusses if you don't want to drill them at all. So what do you think as far as the control goes? Should we, because that space is sort of a strange space up there, it's kind of separate from the rest of the house, should we put a control here on the wall somewhere for it, or what do you think?
What you can do is again, we have the remote system, the DEH 3000R, and it's a puck, and it's about 2 inches in diameter, but you can run it down and put it inside a return plenum, or inside a central return filter room, put it inside of it, and it could read it from this space, and the controller could still be mounted upstairs. That way it would be pulling the humidity from here, but then they set it and forget it controls upstairs.
Got it. So you could, how does that, is that just RF communication, radio frequency, or is it wired, or how does it?
Yeah, it's wired.
It is wired.
It's a 4-wire system.
Okay.
Yes, so we're running off of ohms. So it is a 4-wired system, just for the fact that wireless technology is so
right. Well, that's what I actually prefer it to be wired.
Right.
I think a lot of people like the idea of wireless, but
exactly.
I don't love that. So in this case, that would be pretty easy if I'm looking in here. because I can just, no, stop, don't look at my wires, people, okay? I know it's a mess, all right, it's my own house. So we can just drop a wire down in and then into the return that's underneath here.
Exactly.
And put it in there. That'd be pretty easy to do.
Yeah, just pull your 18/8 down through here, and then put the puck inside the return, and have it run on up, and then you catch it into the controller upstairs in the attic space.
Right.
You'll be reading from a central location at that.
Because like I told you, the RH in here isn't bad, but it's because I'm running reheat to dehumidify.
Right.
So if I didn't have that running, I'm sure I'd be a lot worse off than I am now.
Yeah, you're reheating as you're cooling.
Yeah.
Dehumidify in this situation.
So you're going to notice that there's some things that make this application different than a lot of other applications. One of the most common questions that we get is, where should I connect the dehumidifier? How do I actually duct it in? And you really want the least amount of static pressure that you can have, but you want the dehumidified air to be distributed where you need it. And so a lot of cases, the easiest way to do it is to run a return separate for the dehumidifier that's really close to the dehumidifier, and then duct your dehumidifier air into the supply duct. But then you have to use a backdraft damper, so that way when the dehumidifier goes off, you don't have air forcing back through it from the equipment. That's important. In my particular case, I have this kind of open room that I can free draw from, and I have two different systems where I'd like to add dehumidified air, so I'm just ducting into both of them. You definitely want to look at the specific application to decide how you're going to hang the system and how you're going to duct it, and don't necessarily follow exactly what I did in my particular case. So Les and I are discussing the some of the finer points of the installation, and he was expressing, go ahead, express your concern. You don't need to put on your video voice, it's okay. You can just talk to me like you just were.
No, one of the biggest concerns is trying to hang these things from trusses with the all-thread and unistrut.
Right.
So it's just trying to make sure that they're going to be, with the isolators, it's going to be a good firm foundation, so
right.
During vibration.
Well, he brought up a good point, which is that, because in our case we're usually hanging them off of strut, hung by all thread, so unistrut, Kendorf, whatever you want to call it, hung by all thread. But then if you put the pan on top of that, and then you put the unit in the pan, the dehumidifier in the pan, and you place the feet over the strut, if it were to vibrate over and get into the pan material, the pan's not going to be strong enough to support it.
Right.
So I think the way to do it, if you're going to hang them, is to put a piece of plywood under the pan, and that's what you said you've been doing. So put a piece of plywood under the pan, then place the pan down, and then place the unit
in the pan.
And right. But in this case, I don't know, maybe we should just build a platform. Max is ready. Ricardo is always ready. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I'm going to go up. Here we go. Okay. Wow, I got a really noisy fan here. This is my kid's graffiti. This is Sal.
Hello.
Sal, known from his amazing brazing skills. We call him the amazing brazier. All right, so we got our ductless unit here. I want to show you this good stuff. So, all right, so real quick here. This is my house, okay? I do what I want. I wanted it to drain straight down, and I didn't feel like putting line cover over it. Normally, we would definitely do this with line cover. But what I'm actually going to do in this room, because it's like just a kid's playroom, is I'm going to paint this like roots, and then like a tree trunk, and then up here I'm going to do like leaves, so it's like a tree. It's going to be really artistic. We got Max, we got Sal, we got Les, we got Ricardo, we got, did I say, we didn't say Luke. Yeah, Luke. Removed a panel here. Hey, one thing that I just learned that I didn't know before is this is actually closed cell foam. I thought we got open cell foam, but then I just went up and I poked it, which you're not supposed to do with open cell. Break my finger on that stuff. That is closed cell foam. So that explains why it was so friggin' expensive. But it is actually cool. Closed cell foam is actually kind of nice because it makes the wall more structural and actually adds structural rigidity to the wall. So in the case of a hurricane, come visit me. Okay, anyway, we're talking about dehumidifier. So what are you thinking, Les? So we're gonna hang it here, we're gonna free draw return it.
I think we'll, on this case, the way we got things going, we'll just put a couple support membrane, add the drain pan, then put the dehumidifier in the pan, and then
okay.
You can just kind of plug in from there.
All right. So it's kind of an interesting question, attaching two trusses. So I wanna be clear here. This is the sort of thing that I would probably consult an engineer on if I was doing it in a customer's house. But since this is my house, I'm not really concerned about it. But it is, you know, in Florida we have these engineered truss designs, and sometimes they get kind of freaky about you doing anything other than through top cord. But if my choices are making a hole through top cord of truss, or so making a hole through top cord of truss, or in this case just building a platform, I think I'm going to go ahead and build a platform. Now the downside here is that there could be a little more vibration conducted into the truss itself. So if this was over a customer's house, like in a customer's house over their master bedroom, I probably would be more careful with that. But in this case, I think it'll be best just to put a platform, make it easier to work on.
Change filters.
Yeah, I buy it. So we're gonna have a free draw return out the back. We're gonna have the supplies go in and tie into the upstairs and downstairs supply ductwork. We have to add an outlet, which that'll be pretty easy. We already have a circuit up here. So there we have it. The supply is 10-inch on this, and we're gonna add in a Backdraft. The Clean Comfort makes the controller, they make the dehumidifier, and they make the Backdraft damper as well, right? The Backdraft damper is from them, right? Clean Comfort?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, all right, cool. So we got to have a Backdraft damper, and then we're gonna have a Y, and then we're gonna have two 8-inch ducts that go to the upstairs and downstairs. That's just the way I'm doing it because my supply ducts are both there. It's kind of an ideal situation to go into the system supply, but then have your own return.
Just curious, did you guys get the control with the remote sensor or without?
Oh, without.
Without, okay.
Just attach, literally attach the control up here somewhere or something.
Up here?
Maybe take I don't know.
That
Yeah.
was one of my questions.
Yeah, I think we'll just put it up here.
That'll
Yep.
make it easier fishing the wire.
Yep. It is a weird thing that moisture tends to collect at the peak of the roof. Have you heard that, Max?
Yeah.
That moisture have you heard a good explanation of why that is? Because I've never heard a good explanation of why that happens. But anyway, it does tend to happen.
That's where.
Maybe because
That's
the
where it
water is
gravitates
less
to.
dense than the air itself.
Yeah, because hot air
Yeah.
rises.
Did you know that, Sal?
No, but that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, because the water vapor is less dense. Yeah, good point. I just noticed my truss here is breaking. Hey, nobody worry. Nobody worry. We just have a little
That's where we're doing
dangerous. Yeah, that's where Les comes over and does pull-ups. No biggie. It's manufactured by Ultra Air, American made, in good old Wisconsin. Good old US of A. Hey, did you see? Tell them how I lifted it up just with one arm up
So
these
strong
stairs.
with
Yeah,
one arm?
yeah, just yeah.
I think-
Yeah. All right, so we've got the supply, and then you've got the return. This is designed to work with fresh air as well. I'm not going to bring in any fresh air right now because I'm lazy, but I probably will eventually through it. I've already got an ERV on my house.
And you guys cut 2x4.
It's got a nice pleated filter in it, 2-inch pleated filter that you can access from either side, which is good. So we're going to put it in this orientation. No, wait. Yeah, it's going to be the other orientation, so it's going to be faced that way. Like that.
So high I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right.
So making sure it's level is like of the utmost importance, and then also the drainage part. Because I mean, in practical retrofit applications, you're going to be installing these in less than ideal situations quite often, and the drain is the part that you can't get wrong. So you have to make sure that if this overflows in the pan, it's going to shut off the equipment, or it's going to drain to another location. And then you also have to think about wherever it's going to, because in a lot of cases you're going to be kind of forced to use another drain. Like in my house right here. So my options are, I could punch out a wall and run down 30 feet down the outside of my house, which my wife would then divorce me, or I can tie into an existing drain. In this case, we're going to tie into, I have a heat pump water heater. We're going to tie into that overflow, but if it backs up down there, it has to still shut off the equipment. So that's a big piece of what we've got to do here, is make sure that you get the drain right. So this is the Backdraft damper. My stance on this is you want this to kind of open and close really easily, and it was getting stuck just a little bit, so I'm going to trim off a little bit of the material here where it was hitting the sides, just to make sure, because even if it leaks back a little bit, that's less of a concern than having it get stuck, because, you know, basically the reason you have to have it is because if I'm tying it to supply ductwork, and so if the unit's running, the AC equipment's running and the dehumidifier's not, then it could be prone to force some air, so you'd lose some of your air back through your dehumidifier, which isn't an ideal circumstance, but a little bit of leakage isn't going to hurt anything. So I would rather fault on the side of having a little bit of leakage than have it get stuck. So I'm going to do a little trimming. All right, so fresh air damper that we're not using because I don't have the fresh air. Return, and this is my backdraft damper. Working on the dehumidification controller. Let's see it, Max. Okay, so what are the terminals here, Max?
Common, I think.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other one's 24 volts, and then the rest are labeled. Compressor and fan are what we're gonna use today, and then the damper, if we had one.
Okay, if you had like a 24 volt damper, then right. Yeah.
10 inches for every.
Does that feel good?
Okay, baby. Give me the tank now.
So I want to make. Do you have any of those plugs, like those red plugs or whatever?
Yeah.
I want to make a port so we can test the supply air temperature right at the unit. Actually, we could do it anywhere. Probably the best. Actually, the best place to do it would probably be right here, because that way it won't heat. They're putting together the drain. The control is wired up. We're just, like I said, we're just free drawing from the back here. Eventually, if we ever decide to close in these walls, then we'll put a big sidewall grill up here somewhere. But they've got it coming out here. We've got the backflow damper. Got flex going to a Y. Good old Florida flex. I know I'm gonna hear it from all y'all. Going around, this is our supply for the upstairs, and then we tie in over here for our supply for the downstairs. So just tying it into both. Are your guys vans closed? Because I hear the rain. Was that rain?
No, it sounds like a generator
Oh.
or a pressure washer.
Oh. We don't have either of those. All right, so we got our vent. This is an important piece here. You got to make sure that your vent, don't cut it, don't cut it, don't cut it, don't cut it, don't cut it. Keep your vent nice and high like that. Because if the drain ever backs up, you want it to back up into the equipment and trip the pan. And so if you cut your vent anywhere close to this level, I mean, you could cut it there and still be okay, but I prefer to just leave it nice and tall. So that way we don't have any worries, but you do have to glue it. So clean out, trap, and then vent. Especially when you're going into a drain with something else. And also make sure to strap it, because you don't want it to sag on you. Alright, they're connecting the drain downstairs. Now, you know, connecting drains is, on dehumidifiers, is kind of a tricky business, like I mentioned before. And so in this case, we're actually going into the water heater overflow drain, because I have a heat pump water heater.
Don't cut my wire.
Oh!
No, I don't cut your wire.
Just a pity. So just drop them down here. Hey, we made 2 holes, huh?
What?
2 holes.
Oh. Not me.
All right, so we've got a wire that's going down to a pan switch that's going to go into this water heater pan. It's going to be wired in series with the other switch for that upstairs pan, because if this drain backs up into this pan, we need to make sure that this is also going to shut the dehumidifier off, because we're going into this common drain, which again, you know, you don't want to go into common drains with other equipment if you can help it, but in some cases you just don't have a whole lot of options. So Sal and I were just talking about this. The reason why we have to put a pan switch here too is because if it backs up, because we're going into a common drain, it will fill here before it fills up there. So the pan that we're putting up there, that's where I used to have a vent fan that I'm going to put just a return there. But upstairs, that pan up there is only there in case like the drain pan overflows on that piece of equipment for some reason. This pan here is the one that's going to fill up if we have a backup because of how we're piping it, because we're using the water heater overflow drain. So we've got these wired up in series, so that way if this opens, it'll shut it off. And then we've got our pan switch here, so it comes out through here, and then back. Sal's gonna do the honors of plugging her in. Go ahead, Sal. Plug her in. Try not to screw it up, okay?
Do my best.
We got a big job for you here.
This is very important.
That bottom thing goes in the down. Oh, there you go. Oh no. Okay. All right. Either one. All right. There we go.
Now you must still be playing with the float switch, maybe.
Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go.
Is there a fuse on this thing?
No, he's just messing with the float switch.
Yeah, no, the lip on the drain pan is thick.
Oh, it's not wanting to stay on there? Yeah, wow, yeah. Man, that is really loud. Set this sucker down to 46%. All right, I won't do that. Let's do 48%. Yeah, wow, it really is quiet.
Even on this membrane here, you never feel it.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I was worried about it conducting down in, but it's not. Very, very quiet. All right, so we got using the Testo 440 to just see what we've got on this. And you can see we're outputting 24.7% relative humidity, 97 degrees. And we're bringing in 80 degrees at 53% relative humidity. So we're definitely pulling moisture. A lot of people ask how a dehumidifier works. It's actually very simple. So within here, we've got a compressor, condenser, metering device, evaporator, like every other piece of AC equipment. And what happens is the air, when it comes in, is first it goes over the evaporator coil. So it comes in here, goes over the evaporator coil, hits dew point, drops moisture, and then it goes over the condenser, reheats it, and then actually comes out warmer than it went in, because you have the energy associated with the compressor and fans and everything else, which is why you have higher temperature coming out than you have coming in. And so some people think that this is going to actually help cool the house. It won't, from a sensible standpoint. It is going to remove moisture, so it's going to remove latent heat, but it's not going to decrease your overall heat in the home. It's going to actually add to it. So you have to make sure that you have a system that will be able to handle it, and the customer will still be comfortable from the sensible side when you add in a dehumidifier. So you just gotta make sure that, have that conversation with your customer, that it is going to help with comfort. It's going to help especially with moisture issues, IAQ issues, but you got to make sure the system can handle that additional amount of heat added. All right, so there we go. For our pan switch, we had to make sure that this section here is pitched back this way, which it is. We are draining. Get that out of the drain pan. It's not dripping yet. This is actually the heat pump water heater that's dripping. So this is a pretty big trap to fill. So we got to watch this and run it until it drains, but we definitely see water coming out the T right now. You always got to make sure that it actually drains. We did test the safeties too, both of them, to make sure that they shut the equipment off, and those both work. Drains, drains, drains. So you can wire the dehumidifier fan to run separate from the compressor then.
Yep.
Cool. So you use like typical,
What we would normally.
right, so you use typical wire code. Hot, common, compressor, and fan. And they have a slightly different color code, right? But ultimately, it matters whether you've connected them at the right point.
Whenever I put two pieces together.
Okay, so if you are driving a damper, 24 volt damper is there. Compressor 24 volt call, they're showing blue, but we use yellow just to keep it the same as what we normally do. And then fan is green. And what were you saying about the yellow versus red? That it does matter?
This is actually a diagram.
Oh, got it. Alright, so this is 24 volt hot. Wait, no. Oh, I see. They're using red for common. Got it, okay. Yeah, so the way we've wired it is red is hot, and then blue is common, okay. Just to keep it consistent with what we normally do. Interesting. Alright, sorry. Alright, so with this it shows it as a negative number when it's adding heat. So we're adding 1860 BTUs an hour, which I was just talking with Jonathan Jones from Thermistore, who makes this unit, and he was saying that you can easily make up for that by just increasing your fan speed and changing your sensible heat ratio a little bit if you need to, if you're on the edge. And supply air is 99 degrees, turn air is 78.6, 24% relative humidity in the supply, 55 in the return. And this is an example on an air conditioner. When you check the supply relative humidity will be higher than the return relative humidity. In our case, it's lower. Even though we're actually adding heat, we're pulling moisture. All right, there we go. We've got condensation. Got a lot of moisture coming out of this house right now. That's what we like to see. Lots of moisture. So that's it. Installation of a clean comfort dehumidifier here at my house. A really nice unit, very well built, right here in the USA. Big thanks to Sal and Target Sales for setting this up, and big thanks to Jonathan Jones. He wasn't able to make it back for the installation, but he's the one who made all this happen. All right, so now it's been about a week since installing the dehumidifier, just about a week, and I've noticed that it's been dropping in humidity over time. Like, it didn't drop right away, it's taken it some time, but I've seen some trends of it definitely reducing. So right now we're looking at the screen of, this is a Foobot, which is an indoor air quality monitor that I have downstairs in my house. It's actually, as far away as you can be from the dehumidifier. And I've watched it trend down in relative humidity at all times of the day. And you can see down bottom left is relative humidity, bottom right is temperature. And then also I've seen a decrease in fine particles and volatile organic compounds. So let's see here if we can look at the relative humidity trend. And so if you look at days, you'll notice that there has been a trend downward. So it started off at 55 and then down to 53 and then down to 52 as the average relative humidity goes. And with that, I've definitely noticed an increase in comfort. And I already have a really high-end system that has dehumidification mode, it has reheat to dehumidify, all that stuff. I have all of that. And I've still noticed an increase in comfort and definitely a drop in humidity. There's also been a drop in some of the particulate matter as well. You saw we had a little spike in particulate matter last week when my son burned some food for dinner. But other than that, we've definitely seen a good trend in the particulate matter side of things as well as the VOCs. So all in all, I think it makes a lot of sense to look at supplementary dehumidification whenever you find that the AC equipment just isn't doing the job, especially on edge seasons. Right now, we're in the hotter season, so you're not going to see as much benefit when the equipment's running all the time. But when you get into those edge seasons where it's rainy, but it's not hot outside, that's when it really makes a big difference.